Okay, this is my latest acquisition. It's just arrived today. It's a Lucas M01 Magneto that will eventually be going on the B31 engine. It has a spark. It has the points, the genuine points set in there. And yes, it's a little bit scruffy, and it needs one or two little screws and bits and pieces and a strap to hold the dynamo in. But for the princely sum of, including postage, of £105, which I didn't think was too bad, I'm going to strip it and try and clean it up, and it can go on the spare engine. I've got a bit of a problem because there's a bolt in here that this one hasn't got a head on it, so I'm going to have to try and twist the whole knot. Okay, I've taken that first bit off there. It goes in like that with the L facing out. I've already taken the circlip off there. So we'll start with the next bit to try and get it to bits. Right, here's the Magneto. I've got the outer casing off here. I've protected the thread on the end, and I'm now going to take the clutch off. Hopefully I can remember the way everything goes. That's the nut off there, the large nut. Next is the washer, and you can see the washer has got a slot on one end and a round bit on the other end to fit into this kind of bar thing, so it kind of clicks in there like that. So that comes off next, followed by whatever that is. We'll call it a fan. That comes off. It's kind of curved, if you like. It's got a bit of a curved shape with it. The part that swells out over it goes on that way anyway. So the concave bit is to the inside. And then we've got just what looks like a plain ring. That's probably part of the clutch thing, I don't know. So that's off as well. We'll see what comes off next. I think it might be the pinion actually. Yep. There we go. And that's the pinion, which is a fibre unit, I think. So that comes off as well. I'm not sure what's next. I'll have to film the next bit, switch the camera off, and I'll come back to it. Right, the end cap can come off now, like that, and it reveals the bearings inside. So basically the end cap goes on with the 4 fixing bolts, and then we have the advance and retard mechanism goes in there as well. So hopefully that'll be easy enough to remember. Well, we're not doing too badly here. I did dismantle the Magneto, and I cleaned up the end cap. I'll take that off there because on there I've dressed up and cleaned up the points. I did happen to have a brand new Dynamo strap. I've cleaned the whole body of the Magneto up. I'm just starting to put the pinion back into this end again. I've had the armature out and put grease on the bearings at either end. Put it back in. I've put the the pickup back in, and it still does spark. What I'm waiting for now is I've got the end cap to put on, which is this here, but I'm waiting for some countersunk screws to arrive, and when they arrive, I'll finish putting it back together. This is the M01 Magneto that I bought just a little while ago for about £110. I bought it because I've got a B31 engine and a spare one, and it's on an engine stand, and I wanted to complete the engine by having the Magneto and a Dynamo. As you're probably aware, the Magnetos and Dynamos are quite expensive bits of equipment. This one came, it was obviously a lot dirtier than it is now, and it does actually spark. I've done one or two bits. I've stripped it and I've cleaned it up. Some of the screws on the end here, on the end casings, were missing. The pinion screw was missing there for the drive. It didn't have a Dynamo strap, so I've replaced that. It didn't have an end part for the point. Well, it did have, but it was rusty, so I cleaned that up. It didn't have the fastening bit, so I got this bit to fasten it. Little bits and pieces. I've done that, and I've cleaned it up. So I've now got an M1 Magneto that I will be putting on the B31 engine. But I'll also keep it as a spare in case, in case I need it for the B33. So yes, it's not a bad Magneto. It does spark. You might see it. I don't know. You'll not be able to see it from there. But it does spark. That doesn't mean to say it would spark and work if it was fitted to an engine, because sometimes these units do spark, but once they're under pressure or under compression, the spark doesn't actually work. And if that's the case, I'd have to get it refurbished, which I've done before. I did that with the Magneto on the B33. So I'm quite pleased with it. I've got it there. I've had it to pieces. The bearings all look fine. I've greased all the bearings up, put it all back together, dressed the points up. The points work quite well. As I say, whether it works on an engine, I don't know. But I've got it there, and if I needed it and it didn't work, I'd just take it and get it refurbished. This Magneto had a few bits and pieces missing when I bought it, so I've got a few screws, and I had to buy the cap, the clip to fit the end cap on. There wasn't a screw for the Magneto pinion. Now when that came, it was really, really tight. And I took it to my friend John, who's an engineer, and he run a 3/8 tap through that, and now it just goes on, and it's great. It goes on really well, very, very easily like that. Some of these Magnetos have studs in the bottom. They stand into little recesses on the engine, and these studs are adjustable heights, and you also have to put shims in. Now the reason you have to do that is you have to have the correct amount of backlash from the Magneto drive pinion, which fits on the pinions in the engine. Now what backlash actually means is, if you can imagine two cogs, you don't want these two cogs fitting together really, really tight. They have to be together where they mesh properly, but there's just that little bit of movement. If they're too tight, then that puts a strain on the bearings within the Magneto, and it'll just destroy your Magneto eventually. Now, I couldn't source these studs anywhere on the internet. I couldn't find anywhere who sold them. But I did have a piece of 3/8 Whitworth bar, and I took it to my good friend John, who's got a lathe and he's got a great workshop and he's a fantastic engineer. And he made me these studs. So I've now got the studs, the correct studs for this Magneto. I didn't have a drive pinion. I've sent away for a drive pinion. So when the drive pinion comes, it'll be fitted on the end there. This will be mounted correctly on the engine with these studs in the right place. If necessary, I'll be putting some shims in, some maybe very fine tin sheeting off an old tin can or something. You know, cut it to shape so it fits around these 4 studs, put 4 holes in it, flatten it, and it would just add to whatever height or depth I needed to create the correct amount of backlash, because it's all about protecting the bearings within the Magneto. So that's my next job, and we're getting there. Next, you know, after that I'll possibly look for a Dynamo. I've sent away for a pinion. When the pinion comes, this Magneto will be fitted to the engine. And here we have it. It just arrived this morning. The purchase from eBay. It's a Lucas E3 Dynamo, bought for the princely sum of £75 and about £8 or something for postage, so about £83 altogether. It was sold by a person who described it as a Dynamo that had been lying around for a lot of years in the garage, so they didn't really know whether it worked or not. And because they didn't know, they decided they would just sell it for spares or repair. But it looks in reasonably good condition. So hopefully that is another part of the jigsaw for the B31 engine. Well, I decided in the end to get the Magneto and the Dynamo professionally reconditioned and fitted to the engine, so they're all up there, brand spanking new, ready to go. I stuck a bit of exhaust pipe on just for an effect, and the engine there is virtually complete, ready to go straight into a bike if ever I need it.